All right, so as we start part 2 of tonight's show, the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, thank you for tuning in, everybody. My name is Ryan Thomas. Thank you for joining me. This part of the show tonight is dedicated to a trade that took place in the National Football League. I love trades. It's no secret. I'm a big trade guy. I love trade. That's my Trump impersonation. It's not really that good. But anywho, I like this time of year because you start to see teams realize their fate. Whether it's, well, we need to really get better now, or it's we need to send some pieces packing to get better over the long haul because right now this team isn't cutting it. And those are the situations that we have in Dallas and in Oakland. The Oakland Raiders, led by John Gruden in Act 2 of his Oakland Raiders head coaching tenure, first head coaching job that he's had in 10 years. Oh, we know all that. He comes back, sends Mac packing to Chicago, and they get a good return. There were a lot of people out there that were a little bit skeptical as to why he got traded, but it was pretty easy to find out why. He got traded due to the fact that Oakland did not want to pay him the money that he was asking for. When you have a player of that magnitude, of that caliber, that wants a certain dollar amount per year, or maybe the fine line, whatever, he wanted a certain amount of money, that Oakland was just not willing to pay him for a lot of different reasons, a wide variety of reasons, as I like to say. And he goes to Chicago. He's an immediate impact player. We knew he'd be very good there with some of the surrounding talent that they have in their franchise. And one of those guys as well that Oakland had to possibly trade, send packing, that has been very inconsistent the last few years. Unlike Mac, who has been a consistent producer, Amari Cooper has been an inconsistent producer. So you knew that maybe, just maybe, a window would open where Cooper could get traded. And they come right out and say, we're not going to leave it for people to wonder if he's going to get traded. He's going to get traded. We are shopping him. He's on the trade block. Give us what we want for him, and he's yours. Which is very rare for a receiver of his age, who was just drafted a few years ago by the Raiders in the first round with a top 10 pick, if I'm not mistaken. And the Raiders decide, well, it's just not working out. He's not producing at the level that we would like him to be, and we're not winning with him, so let's get something for him while we still can, being that he's at the end of his rookie contract. We don't want to give him that fifth-year option. We want to see another team do that. Meanwhile, they pay us something for him. And you never know what the asking price is of a player of his magnitude, but reports were circulating that they wanted at least a first-round pick for him. And when I had first read the reports that they had wanted a first-round pick for him, I thought, well, he was a first-round pick. Ideally, if you take a first-round pick player and you're trading him before his rookie contract is even up, you want that first-round pick in return. Ideally, keyword. But let me throw this out there. When that said rookie is taken with a top 10 pick in the first round, and you do not want to re-sign him on his rookie option, why should you get a first-round pick for that player? Why should a team be willing to pay a first-round pick for that player? And I'll give you a case in point. I'll offer this to you that we know in our own backyard in Buffalo, New York. Sammy Watkins was a top 5 pick that was traded away before his rookie contract was over. Buffalo got a second for him, not a first. Kelvin Benjamin was traded from Carolina to Buffalo, drafted in the late first round of that same draft, and Buffalo traded a third-round pick for Kelvin Benjamin. Meanwhile, they pick up his fifth-year option on his rookie contract, and it hasn't really worked out too well. Safe to say. But you get my point. it's very rare to see a team be willing to pay a first-round pick for a first-round wide receiver that has not lived up to the hype. But Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones were willing to do that. And I have to say, there's only one word that comes to mind when I saw this trade. It's dumb. It's a dumb move. It is not a good move. And it is not a move that I think benefits Dallas. And I'm going to lay out the reasons why. When you have a quarterback like Dak Prescott who has the ability to roll around, to extend plays, to make things happen, you saw him come into a situation that Tony Romo left him ripe for the taking. Tony Romo gets hurt. Dak Prescott comes in. Why do I believe Dak Prescott was so successful? And I will not state the obvious in saying this by saying that it was because of his offensive line. That's the obvious no shit Sherlock reason as to why Dak Prescott did great in Dallas his first season. I'm not going to throw that reason out there, though. I'm going to throw you another underlying reason. And I think it was because he was surrounded by veterans. Not so much Ezekiel Elliott, who was also a rookie that year, but Dak Prescott was surrounded by Des Bryant and Jason Witten. Also Terrence Williams, who had a few years in the league, but every Dallas fan that I know is not really high on Terrence Williams. Rightfully so. We get it. Whatever. But Dak was surrounded by veterans that were savvy, veterans that knew how to manipulate routes, how to bend defenses, how to break defenses, and how to expose defensive backs, linebackers. They were savvy veterans. Can we say that? Jason Witten, Des Bryant, can we agree that those two guys were smart veteran players in the NFL? I would like to say so. And there was another tidbit of information that we were offered as NFL fans that I thought Dallas would hop on quicker. And that was the news that the Denver Broncos were shopping Demaryius Thomas. Was Denver asking for a first-round pick for Demaryius Thomas, who they drafted in the first round back, I believe, in 2010, 2011, maybe 2012? Of course not. Has Demaryius Thomas produced some very solid seasons in the NFL? Yes. Has Demaryius Thomas been a consistent producer throughout the majority of his career? Yes. And again, was Denver asking for a first-round draft choice for Demaryius Thomas? To my knowledge, to this very minute, no, they are not. So why did Dallas, in need of a wide receiver, blatantly obvious that they needed a wide receiver? And good on them for recognizing that themselves and enacting on that position and going out and getting a better option at wide receiver. But I don't think they got the best option that was available, and I think they overpaid for the option that they actually received and traded for. Meanwhile, they could have called Denver, could have called John Elway and said, hey, look, we'll give you a third for Demaryius Thomas and maybe pay some of his salary that Denver wanted, some of it paid down. Maybe they go that route. I would rather take that than a first-round pick for a 24-year-old wide receiver that, yes, he did have some success with Oakland. Yes, he was the number one wide receiver. But it was not a body of work the likes of Demaryius Thomas. And I think Dak Prescott, if you're trying to evaluate whether or not Dak Prescott is legitimate, if you're trying to evaluate whether or not Dak Prescott is that franchise guy, you should have brought in a veteran, not a rookie, not a young wide receiver. You should have brought in a prime veteran wide receiver that is well respected around the National Football League, that has played on Super Bowl teams, won one Super Bowl, lost another. And I feel like he's a true leader. He's been a captain of that offense for the last 5 to 10, almost 10 years. So I think Demaryius Thomas should have been the player that Dallas traded for. That's who I would have traded for. I feel like Dallas could have got him on the cheap, but instead they once again overpaid for a wide receiver. Joey Galloway comes to mind. I think it was 2 first-round picks for Joey Galloway. That didn't work out too good, and I don't think this will work out too well either. But Dallas sees this as an opportunity for them to be able to help their hopeful franchise quarterback grow, being that he's working with a young wide receiver as he is a young quarterback. I get that whole narrative around why they would go that route for this particular move, but that doesn't mean it makes sense, and that doesn't mean that it was right. It means that we'll wait and see. Whereas with Demaryius Thomas, I don't think you have a wait-and-see dynamic to that trade. I think it's, okay, we just got a solid veteran option for Dak Prescott to throw to, and we like him. And there you have it. That's my take on the Amari Cooper trade, sending him from Oakland to Dallas. John Gruden is 3 steps ahead of the other 30 teams in the National Football, or 31 teams in the National Football League, with 3 top 15, as of now, top 15 first-round draft choices. If Oakland sucks now, soon they will not. Take care, everybody.